Hey everyone, it's Sammy from Sammy's Sweet Life, and today I am doing my August budget update video for you guys, and we're also going to talk about future budget things as well. Before I get into the actual budgeting and numbers, I want to talk a little bit about this recession news that is going around. It seems like there is a percentage estimate that there's going to be a recession in the next year or so, and I want to talk about it a little bit. There are things you can definitely do to make yourself a little bit more recession proof, but the main thing is just don't panic. We don't know if it's actually going to happen or not, so I feel like panicking is just one of those things that is kind of a worthless emotion or feeling, and it just kind of wastes your energy. So I'm hoping that some of these tips can make you feel a little bit more in control and a little bit more in charge. Now, as far as our economy goes, it seems to be very cyclical, so recessions do happen. Sometimes they're really, really bad ones, sometimes they're small little bursts, but I feel like, especially with an election cycle coming up, it's more prone to, you hear about there's going to be a recession, and I feel like it happens every so much, like our economy is going to collapse because of election stuff. So I think a lot of it is just fear mongering and worry that's not really based in a whole lot of factual evidence. And that's not to say a recession may not happen, because it very well could. We're kind of long overdue for it, as far as if you look at the economy cycle, but I'm not going to do a whole lot of changing things based on like what ifs. I've mentioned in a ton of videos, I watch and listen to the Money Guy podcast, and they do have a YouTube channel. So I watch some, I listen to some on podcasts. I like follow their stuff really consistently, and they recently just did one about this possible recession, things you can do to kind of safeguard it, and also like alternative ways to think about it. So based on what I heard from them and other people saying similar type of things, I'm not super concerned and worried about it right at this point, but I will link to that specific podcast or video, whichever one I can find easier for you guys down below, and you can check that out if you're worried about it. I just have a couple of tips that I've heard and read along the way. For one thing, make sure you have a really good emergency fund. And I know that is way easier said than done. It takes a long time to build up a really nice, significant emergency fund, but definitely that should be one of everybody's priority. You know, stuff happens, crap happens, people lose jobs. It was about 3 years ago we moved to Austin because of a possible job loss. Just my husband one day found out they were closing his office down, and he thought he was going to be out of a job, and it shook us to the core. You know, at that point we did have some emergency savings. We could have made it through at least a year on that emergency savings at that time, but it was kind of scary. So we always, you know, we make sure we have a lot of a safety net just in case things happen, because at that point in time, he had just gotten a raise. They were working on upgrading his building. So we thought, you know, he's good for a long time. You know, we didn't have any inclination that there would be possible layoffs in the company at all. And it was like company-wide, there were a bunch of layoffs. Thankfully, he did get a job transfer. He did not get laid off, but it was a scary couple of weeks figuring things out, and without that money safety net, we would have been really scared. And had he lost his job without a safety net, it could have been, you know, life altering. It could have been bankruptcy. We could have lost our house over it. At that point, we still had a car payment. So it could have been a really serious life altering thing to happen. So I definitely recommend having a safety net. I really try to push for having 12 months in emergency savings. And I know that is a lot, and it's a lot to build up to, but you know, you start with $100, then you start with $1,000, and then you go from there. You have 1 month of expenses saved, then you have 2 months, and you just build it up over time. And it's not like our 12-month emergency savings happened overnight. You know, this was years of building it up. Not in every situation, but in a lot of situations, worst comes to worst, a year of savings will hopefully get you into some sort of job. Maybe not the best job. So anyway, a lot of people push for 3-month emergency funds. Some people push for 6 to 12 months. It depends on your family's situation as well, what you feel comfortable with. And I always just feel more comfortable with that whole 12 months. And definitely if you're worried about your finances with a possible recession coming, maybe you need to look at changing your financial situation. You know, maybe do some side hustling to get some more income coming in, cut expenses where you can. This is a time to really reflect on what you're spending as far as your family budget. If you don't have a budget, it's a great time to get a budget. Think about also why you're scared about it. You know, what can you do to make the impact less? One of the things I wrote down was bump up your savings and cut useless expenses. So that's something you can do to prepare if you're a little bit worried about it. The Money Guy really covers this really well. I'm just, you know, beginner level. I really want you to watch their video if you're interested or worried about recession stuff. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into my numbers now that we've talked about all that. So we had some big expenses coming out in August. It is back to school, and I also signed Olivia up for dance. And the way we could pay for the dance is we can pay monthly, which is the most expensive option, and we could pay by the semester, which is a mildly discounted option, or we could pay the whole year and you get a little bit better of a discount paying the whole year. And we decided to pay by the semester. I just could not stomach the full year payment, and I also wasn't sure how long she was going to stick with it. And of course they'll like prorate my refund back to me if she drops out or something happens. We had paid for part of the summer session. We got like a prorated rate because we joined in the middle of the summer, and she has loved it. And I was making sure, checking with her, like, do you really want to stay in dance? And she's adamant that she wants to stay in it. We signed up for the semester and then we will reevaluate, but it's hefty. You know, I'm paying through, I think through January, and it was a bigger expense. Not only that, her back to school thing, what they do at school is they have a supply fee and it's per semester. So we paid that giant chunk also. So we had these two giant money things come out. And with that said, we did not hit our savings goal. There was also another bigger expense that came out. We did our car registrations, and our car registrations aren't cheap here. First of all, you have to get your car inspected. So we had to take our cars in, and that doesn't cost all that much, but then you have to pay the registration fees, and that is what kind of adds up. So we spent $187.50 on registration fees. We spent a couple $100s on supply fees, a couple $100s on the dance fees, and it was a lot. So I feel like overall on the, you know, the day-to-day categories, we didn't go over all that much. We were under on some categories, but these big hefty things that came out totally meant we did not hit that savings goal. The supply fee for her school is definitely built into like the yearly average of her tuition and fees on my budget. I have a yearly amount, and then each month I take out what actually comes out. And then also the car inspection stuff, that's in our car maintenance and inspection sinking fund. So that already is accounted for in the overall budget. But for when I'm looking at just this month's expenses and just this month's savings amount, it was a big hit. And also I don't have the dance in her budget. I should have some sort of extracurriculars, but I feel like I want to keep her extracurriculars kind of small and light at this point because she is in school and we pay for the school right now. And when she starts kindergarten, her school will be public school, and so we'll pay for, like, you know, art supplies and things like that. We'll have to pay for some things for school, of course, but we won't have to pay a giant tuition every month. And so it'll be much cheaper, and then we can have a lot more wiggle room for extracurriculars if she wants to add more things in. But for now, yeah, she's just been asking about dance so much. We definitely want to encourage her to try new things, and she's so far really loved dance, so we're keeping her in that, and it just, you know, works out in the end. It just messes up our month. But anyway, I'll go through the actual categories and how much I went over or how much I went under. For clothing, finally, we only have one thing on the clothing, and that was my belly band, and it was $14.99. So that was the only clothing that came out this month. We're way over on that sinking fund for this year because of all the maternity clothes. One of the lines in our budget, keeping track of baby stuff, it's just a line. It's just every month I have the space I can add things in to each month. I stocked up on baby stuff, $188.58 worth. So that puts our total for baby expenses so far at $576.06, and that is also including one thing that came out for September. I just looked at the very big total, and I'd already bought one thing in September that was 20 bucks. So basically, yeah, we spent $600 for baby. We've got tons of diapers and wipes at this point. We have to buy a couple other things, but not a whole lot. I was thinking in September I would use my completion coupon for my Amazon Prime baby registry. I just made a registry and kept track of like baby wish list things just so I could get that coupon. So I plan on using that in September, later this month, or in October. So I don't really know when that's coming out, but there's a couple of bigger ticket items on there that I do want to get, and I want to get with that coupon. We were under on groceries by $14.58, and that's a huge accomplishment for me because I have been almost doubling the grocery budget most months since being pregnant. It was a really, really difficult accomplishment, and I felt so glad that we were under budget. I would have been okay even if we were just like slightly over, but to hit under it, I was like, yes, I finally stuck to the budget for that one. We were under in my category by $20.90. I had bought like one thing that was around $4, so it wasn't a big deal. And then for Olivia's category, we were under by $7.16, and her category is for like learning things. I think I included her lunchbox stuff in a recent month. Like educational toys will come out of that category. Any of the Scholastic books come out of that category, and things like that. We did end up spending some of that, and she was a little bit under that for August. And then for Christmas, I did end up purchasing quite a few things. I ended up going to Kohl's and getting all the Kohl's Care books and stuffed animals, and they had a ton of them from the previous couple of quarters. They do that quarterly where they release new ones. I have not been in a long time, so I got all the discounted clearanced books and stuffed animals that they also had. Usually everything is $5 each, and those things were marked 3 something, so it was a pretty good deal. I put most of that away for her Christmas. She got a couple of things, and then all of it's like stacked in our closet up at the top. We also got the game Hungry Hungry Hippos, which we did go ahead and just give to her. It was something we had seen in a store. I was really shocked they still made that game, so I went ahead and looked on Amazon, and it was like $8 for the game. I went ahead and ordered it, so she has loved it. We've played it a bunch, and it's just a really fun game. And then I got some DVDs. I was ordering some things from Target, and I saw that they had Disney movies on sale, so I got her a couple of cheap Disney movies to put away for Christmas. Those will be great stocking stuffers. I got 2 movies that I really liked growing up. A Goofy movie and also Oliver and Company. So I got them for super duper cheap. They were marked down and they were already, you know, like cheaper Disney movies to begin with. So I've got plenty of like books, stuffed animals. I've been ordering things here and there for Christmas as I've seen like really good deals on things. So we are getting close to being set for Christmas time. And then in the gifts category, this is a category next year we're gonna have to bump up because we've been invited to a lot of birthday parties now that she's in school and she's making little friends. And we had 3 birthday parties back to back, and our gift expense used to not include, you know, birthday party things, and I aim to spend somewhere around $10 to $20 per kid. You know, I want to get them something that's good, something that's not like a cheap junky toy. So we've been doing like the Kohl's Care things. I get them a book and a stuffed animal, or 2 books and a stuffed animal, sometimes 2 books and 2 stuffed animals. It really depends on like the kids. I ask the parents like, what does your kid like? What are they interested in? And I made it work with that, and sometimes it's something else. So I really try to stick with that like maximum $20 range per kid, but we're gonna have to bump up that gifts category. So in August I spent $24.83 in that category, and that was for 2 birthday parties. So that's not too bad. And then for household, we were over by $17.32, and this was one of the weirdest things to put in here. I just used our regular, you know, rewards credit card that we pay off every month to order some contacts. I was right at the end of my contact prescription. I was gonna run out right at the time I was due with baby, and it's recommended that you don't get your eyes checked or adjust your prescription while you're pregnant because your eyes can like go back to normal after pregnancy or change again once you're done being pregnant. So my doctor extended my prescription and I got 6 months worth of contacts, and it cost me, out of pocket, it cost me like $14. I went ahead and included it in the household, and it did end up pushing us over. We were over by $17.32, which was mostly that contact amount. I just went ahead and put it on that card. I don't know, I wasn't really thinking about it, but later I was like, oh, I could have put that on, you know, the healthcare card. As far as our categories go, I just stuck it under household because I didn't know what to do with it. And then we were over on entertainment. That's our eating out, that's going to like open gym times for indoor playgrounds and things. And we were over by $29.04, which is like 1 out to eat for us. So I don't think that's too bad, especially being pregnant. I've been tired and not wanting to cook, and we've been eating out a whole lot more than normal, ordering takeout a whole lot more than normal. So I feel like that's a pretty good place to be, just being over by, you know, 1 eating out. And that's really our number. So we did not hit our savings goal, but that's okay. Talking about moving forward, I mentioned last week that we are building a house. We actually have a lot of time between now and when we close on the house. We already have our down payment and closing costs set aside, so we're not concerned about that, but that does take a big chunk out of what we have saved. So we definitely want to start beefing up our savings again in preparation for this big expense coming out. We are putting 20% down, so it is a pretty hefty chunk, I would say. So I really want to stick more to the no spend. I've been really sucking at it the last few months, especially, first of all, I'm not really caring all that much. I've kind of loosened I'm having like pregnancy brain. I'm trying to say something and I can't think of exactly how to say it, but I'm like loosening the purse strings a little bit, not being so tight with money because, you know, we've hit savings goals. We've got our, you know, our down payment and all that stuff set aside for when that time comes, and I just haven't been making it a huge priority to save. So I want to go back to, you know, more of the no spend that I started in the beginning of the year before getting pregnant. I want to work on beefing up our savings, so we're going to try to stay strong through the end of the year, and then we will reevaluate our budget moving forward. And so our house should be done around May, and when you're building a house, you don't really know until it gets closer to when you're going to close on the house. So it could be April, it could be June or July. We really don't know at this point. Depends on how the weather goes and how labor goes, things like that. Right now we're kind of aiming for May, so that's like halfway through next year, and it's gonna affect our budget in significant ways. So we're gonna probably not do a full year outlook budget like we have done the last 2 years. I think we'll do like a half a year budget and then reevaluate once we move and do another half a year budget. So yeah, numbers will change, savings goals are going to change, but for right now, we're just going to try to really stay strong, stick more to the no spend or low spend, and try to stick to that grocery budget still. I've been so bad about that, and I really made it a huge priority in August, and I'm trying to again in September, just making it a priority to stick to that budget because we totally blew it for quite a few months. And you know, those few $100s add up month to month if you keep blowing the budget. So I'm really gonna try to stick to our categories and try not to spend anything frivolous and extra aside from the baby stuff. We do have some things we really want for baby, either later this month in September or in October before baby gets here. So other than that, I feel like we could really try to stay strong through the year. And as far as looking into the way distant future, as far as house needs, we're going to possibly need blinds for the house. I don't know if we're going to have them put into blinds or we'll have to do them after the fact, but that's a possible expense that will also come out. We'll have to cash flow. And the other one is getting gutters. Our house doesn't come with full gutters, so we're gonna have to get gutters, and that's another expense that we'll have to cash flow once we move. We already have a fridge, we already have regular furniture, so we shouldn't have to buy anything major for the house aside from the gutters and possibly the blinds. So we don't anticipate a whole lot of other expenses coming up besides the down payment and closing costs. So we'll have time to start beefing our savings up before all that comes out. So that's pretty much it. I would love to know how your budget's going. We're getting down to the last couple of months of the year, and that's when I feel like, you know, the holidays are coming up. It's a really easy time to blow it, and I'm gonna have a baby, so I'm also concerned about like buying everything that I think I could possibly need. I'm really trying not to do that with my Amazon registry. I've tried to mark things off that are unnecessary because I know, you know, all the baby stuff, it looks cute and you don't end up using most of it. So I'm really trying to stay practical with how I'm going to use this discount. But anyway, I'd love to know how your budget's going. Hopefully we can all stay strong and push through the last couple of months of the year without blowing it majorly. I hope that you guys like this video. I will leave my budget playlist down below. I've been doing these budget updates now for over a year and a half. So you can check out more budget updates down there. I try to give some helpful tips and tricks along the way, and I hope you guys are well. So be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe and check out that playlist if you want to, and I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.